Hi, this is Professor Cordes, and this is the Week 1 lecture video for English 113 composition. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go over and review the first type of writing for our course. It's a profile writing. Profile writings are great in journalistic type settings. They're great as far as description or biography is concerned. This helps us hone in on offering details, offering insight that we wouldn't necessarily pick up from an outside perspective. So I've switched my screen here to the student view so you guys can see what's happening. The profile, under the different assignments, the very first thing that you guys did was read through the syllabus and did your little video introduction. The second part is this profile. So looking here, it says the first essay genre is called profile. Our textbook defines it as written portraits of people, places, events, or things. You have 2 weeks to write the journalistic piece because it does require some sort of observation of a person. So you are looking at the components of how do you describe someone, how do you articulate what's really going on, kind of beginning to find out necessary information, and that does take a while. I would strongly suggest meeting with someone face-to-face and watching them work, or watching the event or going to a place to experience things. However, if you need to do a digital video call, that is acceptable as well. Anything that you can kind of use to gather that information, a phone call, something along those lines in which you become familiar with that person, that experience, that place, whatever item that you do select. Okay. Looking here, it says you have 2 weeks. So this week, actually, you are just doing a draft. So by the end of your writing process, you'll have 3 pages, okay, of a draft. And it does say proper MLA or APA format. MLA is the construction for kind of liberal arts, English, Christian studies. APA is more designed for like the sciences or behavioral sciences. It's really just a way of formatting our writing. So it's a way of doing like the header or the cover page, the way that your resources look in your reference page or works cited. It's really a way of just setting things up. It's not that one is easier than the other. Both of them require diligence in looking at the details, but you will need to select one. I would select one based upon your major. Okay. So take 30 seconds, 45 seconds, go to the internet, go to maybe even your academic advisor would be a good reference as well. Say, hey, I'm an English major. Should I use MLA or APA? Hey, I am going to be a biology major. Should I practice now with MLA or APA? If you don't know, send me an email. Maybe I can help you figure it out. Every discipline is different. So right now we are going to familiarize ourselves with those 2 basic ones. So you get to pick. Okay. So looking here at more of the instructions, it's you will learn more about, or that is what is important to you to know to write about that particular event, thing, idea, person, whichever. Okay, so let's say that I want to observe a elementary teacher. Okay, I would probably go into her classroom. I would probably observe her throughout the day. I would take notes. I would try to figure out what's actually happening. Okay, maybe the component is a project manager for a local church or a pastor. Maybe if you're going into the science realm, having the chance to go into a chem lab and watch people work and interact with each other and what's that like, okay? You're going into criminal justice, hightail it down to the courthouse and begin to watch the interactions of people. If you get to know that person better, that's great. You don't want to become a stalker. That's not what I'm suggesting, but you do need to kind of like introduce yourself to the person, interview them, talk to them, begin to know what's going on. You want a holistic idea. It's one thing for me to have a conversation with the teacher. It's another for me to watch him or her in the classroom teaching. Okay. So notice those components. It's one thing for my buddy to be a fireman. It's another to watch him in action when there's a fire and he's out on the field and he's working. Okay, there's a difference to it. So looking here at our instructions, you'll go to the place or event and observe and interview that person and take detailed notes. Some things that you want, your essay should also approach your subject from a particular angle. So some details should be emphasized more than others to create a focused, dominant impression. What that means is you're taking a look at some aspects. So yes, we know that a fireman goes out, fights fires. Great. But what are they doing in the downtime that kind of creates their holistic persona, that profile? So a teacher, gets in front of the elementary kids and teaches, but what does she do while they're at recess? Does she sit? Does she compose herself? Does she do lesson plans? Does she do grading? Is she exhausted by the end of the day because she's been on her feet? What is it about that idea as a whole? Okay. Talking with one of my friends, she's a resident nurse. During the 2020 pandemic, she has a completely different take on protocols, procedures, paperwork. She went off for like 7 or 8 minutes just about the paperwork process and how it is different. And that encompasses the idea of what's going on for that person as a profile. Okay. So a profile is kind of like this larger idea. You will notice that as you begin to draft your ideas, looking down here, the rubric is attached with it as well. So you are able to see, these are the things. Do you have an interesting subject? Okay. Did you provide the necessary background for us to be able to have prior knowledge? Okay. Is there an interesting angle? So is there a way that you are intriguingly or interestingly taking this profile and making it unique? So yes, we know what firemen do. We know the danger that they put themselves in. However, what else is there? Is there a different component? Is it the firefighter who's a father? Is it the firefighter who is the general manager? Is it a firefighter who's the mechanic? Like, what is the components that you are kind of looking at? From there, you've got the firsthand account. Are you able to witness them? Are you able to talk with them? Are you able to see how things work? Are you offering details? This right here is kind of where you need to articulate. So imagine for a second that I'm not with you and I don't know anything that you're talking about. You have gone to a library to talk to a librarian who specializes in American history. Imagine that I'm not there. What details do you need to add in so that that profile is gripping, descriptive, that it offers specific and special information? Okay. The last part is grammar and writing. Also completeness. Did you hit your 3 pages? Okay. 3 pages does not mean we hit to the top of the 3rd page. 3 pages is that we hit the bottom of the 3rd page. Grammar and style. Obviously, we need to make sure that we are communicating well, spelling mistakes, sentence structure. I would highly recommend, once you have your draft, to read your sentences out loud so that you can hear, you can hear them and process the flow and the rhythm and the tone that is being projected. Okay. One of the tricks that I learned in graduate school was I actually read my essays backwards, not word for word backwards, but I would read the last sentence. Does that make sense on its own? And the next sentence, does that make sense on its own? And that actually helped me because then I began to process, oh, this sentence doesn't make sense as where I read it the first time through. Normally, you just move rather quickly and just kind of skim over things that may be grammatically incorrect. Okay. So the profile, while it may seem overwhelming, here's what I would do. Start by figuring out what your subject is. Start by connecting with him or her, or going to that event or that experience and kind of beginning to interview, take notes, who they are, how do they get there, why is this there, figure those things out. That would be here, this necessary background information. There, figure out what the angle is, okay? Figure out why the elementary teacher is exhausted at the end of the day but still loves what she does, okay? You've got your firsthand account, you've got engaging details. So at this moment in time, to kind of take a moment and step back. Start with figuring out what you are going to write your profile about. From there, go ahead and set up that interview, that interaction, so that you can talk and ask questions about the background and get more of a holistic idea. Then go ahead and begin to draft your writing. Remember that this first week is just a draft. Also remember, ladies and gentlemen, that you will be going over and submitting your essay to getting tutoring feedback. Okay. Please make sure that you allow time for that as well. And then once you get those notes back from the tutor, you're able to apply those to your next draft, which will be due the following week. Okay. If you have questions or concerns, just let me know. Once again, this is the week 1 lecture video about profile writing.